Welcome to the Industrial Talk Podcast with Scott McKenzie. Scott is a passionate industry professional dedicated to transferring cutting-edge, industry-focused innovations and trends while highlighting the men and women who keep the world moving. So put on your hard hat, grab your work boots, and let's go.
All right, hold on your hat. We've got a barn burner of a doggone interview on the Industrial Talk Podcast. Absolute honor that you have joined this platform that celebrates you. You, industry hero. That is what we're all about. Why not celebrate? You're bold, you're brave, you dare greatly. Boy, do you innovate. Absolutely innovate. And you're changing lives, and you're changing the world. How can you not celebrate that? Again, barn burner right here. This is a person that means a lot to me. She is absolutely an inspiration. She is, her view on life is inspiring, and she's all about industry too. That's right. We're going to be talking to Beverly Rider, and she is the Chief Commercial Officer with Hitachi. Let's get a crackin'. All right. You know, there's in your life, you can reflect upon in your life. You can say, yeah, I remember this individual. I remember this person. I came in contact with this individual, and that person made me a better person. I'm telling you right now, Beverly Rider fits into that category for me. A quick little story. We met in Barcelona. I interviewed her there at the IoT Solutions World Congress. And she was moving around. She was busy. She had a lot of things happening. And yet she found time in her busy schedule to share her insights and wisdoms with the listeners of the Industrial Talk Podcast. She said yes. And if you ever go out to her profile, her stat card out on LinkedIn, that's R-I-D-E-R, that's Beverly Rider, you will notice that what she likes to elevate, what she likes to promote, what she deems important are very uplifting and motivating stories about hope, optimism, and she's just right in line. I mean, when you talk to her, nope. You're not going to get down. You're going to always feel like you can conquer the world. That's Beverly Rider. Because she gets it. We are in 2021. We need to be ambassadors, industrial ambassadors of hope, industrial ambassadors of dreams, industrial ambassadors of education, collaboration, and innovation. She is an industrial ambassador. She is an industry hero par excellence. You can tell I'm a big fan of, in fact, I think I am the president of her fan club. That's Beverly Rider. You know what's great about her too, as well? You go out to her, her LinkedIn profile as I look at it, and you reach out. You know what she's going to do? She's going to say, thank you very much for joining. She's going to be part of your network too, and you will be a better person as a result of it. Isn't it great? Let me just sort of make sure that we're all on the same page. Isn't it great that we have these digital platforms that we can sit there, reach out, collaborate, and get to know everybody? I mean, it's really a powerful thing to be able to do that. And in coming up in 2021, no doubt about it, let's be optimistic. And I really want everybody to be ambassadors of hope, ambassadors of dreams, and creating those dreams and educating, because it's all there. It's ready to go. We can do that and fill our minds and our conversations full of optimism. Right there, Beverly Rider. That's the impact she made on me. Beforehand, I probably was sort of a crotchety son of a gun, but because of Beverly, look at me. I'm all hopeful, optimistic. That's what Beverly Rider does. All right, let's get on with the interview. Great conversation. Beverly Rider, Chief Commercial Officer. Hitachi is the company, and we had a good time. Enjoy the interview. All right, listeners, again, right now, Beverly Rider is on the doggone Industrial Talk Podcast again, and she's going to, once again, deliver her leadership insights and skills and wisdoms, because she is absolutely, let me see, if I were to categorize people in my life that I think that are really special, yep, Beverly's right at the top. Beverly, how are you doing?
I am great, Scott. Nice to talk to you again. Hey, and just for the record, I feel the exact same way. If I'm looking for fun, I come find Scott.
Yeah. Yeah, virtual fun right here, baby. Right here. no holds barred as I try to get the timer because Beverly, because she is so important, she has a hard break, and we've got to be able to get this interview done. All right, Beverly.
Okay, Scott.
A lot of things happening.
Yeah.
You know, it is 2021. 2020 was a unique year.
Wow.
And put on your future hat real quick.
Yeah.
What do you see? I mean, how do people survive, rebuild, and prosper? Let's talk a little bit about that, because I don't have a good feel for any of this. It's still very squiffy. I don't know. So what are your thoughts?
Yeah, so I think you know this about me already, but I come to everything with an air of positivity. I believe that there is the ability to rebuild, that we're going to be bigger, better, we're going to be better people as a result, and that life is actually going to take a turn for being more maybe family-centric or more personally focused, or thinking through our life choices in a different way, because we had this opportunity to experience 2020. I know a lot of people feel that it was one of the worst years of their lives, but I think I had most of my learnings. I mean, more learnings than I've had in a year and a couple decades in 2020
So here's the funny thing. I mean, we can piss and moan about 2020. One of the things that I'm all in on the positivity. I'm all in on that. I am just, I'm not going to allow that negative stuff to come into my life.
Yeah.
It's wasted energy. So one of the things that I find that has been very appealing, the positive side of that 2020, is I found people more vulnerable, more willing to reach out and talk and say, I need help. And I like that. I like that desire to collaborate. Did you see that on your end?
Yeah, I actually think I'm a product of that. I was telling a story yesterday. I do a bunch of different things when we do leadership stuff inside of Hitachi, and I was talking to the next group of leaders, and I was telling them how in 2020, I changed my philosophy for leadership completely. I went from being very task-driven and project-driven and goal-driven to much more human, and looking at my people in a more human way, learning to balance workload, learning to off shift, learning to ask questions I probably hadn't asked before. Or maybe I said, how were you? Or how was your weekend? Or how was your trip? But I wasn't always listening 110% to that answer. Now I'm listening, and I'm listening for cues. I'm listening for, are you feeling overworked? How are you doing emotionally? All these other things that I never really thought about in my leadership before. I'm very fortunate that a large part of my team are also my friends. And so that's over, a lifetime of working with people and bringing them with me to new positions. So because of that, I have those friendships in there. But what I find now is that no matter who I'm talking to, whether it's on my team or on another team, I'm listening for, do you need help? Is there another way we could do this? How about we look at this upside down? Do you need to get out of that room that you've been spending 70 hours a week in? Like those types of things. And I think that it's really made us more personal.
I absolutely agree with you on that 100%. And I like the fact, listeners, that you brought out that human component. It's a human conversation. All of this other stuff, all of this noise that exists out there today is still a human conversation. And I think we're better off. I have to agree with you 100%. And what is interesting, pre-virus, pre-pandemic, pre-whatever, we get into this rhythm of like, this is how I lead. I read this book. I do this thing. And it's all based off of the premise of what is happening. And then all of a sudden, the switch is hit. Pandemic is here. And then all of a sudden, people are saying, well, I don't have an answer. I need help. I don't have all of it. And I'm just telling you, I love it. I think that if we can focus on true, and you brought it up, education, collaboration, and then innovate, I think that we're really in a beautiful way. And the listeners, I'm just going to have to say, the Beverly was an inspiration to trying to be positive, and everything that she posts out there, you got to be a friend with her, by the way. Go out to her stat card. It's pretty damn cool. Everything that she posts is positive. Everything is engaging and positive and optimistic, and I like that about you. Now, Beverly.
Yeah, but Scott, I will say, just because I'm positive doesn't mean that I miss the realistic elements of the world. I don't want everybody to think I put a positive spin on anything, everything and anything. I don't. I just think that you have to take them all in bite-sized pieces, and that we can't focus on the negative as much, because it just draws us all down.
It does. Do you think, I had somebody tell me about, are people just getting bored right now? Like they're just sitting there.
Yeah, I think so.
You know?
You know, something that happened to me during COVID, which was really interesting, is I stopped traveling on March 3rd. And prior to that, I had like 90% of my life was spent on an airplane going from city to city, country to country. And it really has changed me as a result of being home for over 10 months. And one of the things that I did is people always engage with me on LinkedIn, and they'll send me like a note. And most of them, you know, you read through and they're trying to sell you something, but occasionally people just want to get to know you. And so I decided that I was going to try that and just take some random people I never heard of before and meet with them and see what it is we could collaborate on or how we could help each other. So I picked people that had nothing to do with my industry, or if they were part of my industry, they had a job that was completely different than mine, so I could get a different perspective. So I chose one person that ran a ventures company inside of a giant company, and another person that was the head of HR for North America for another giant company. And they had both reached out to me, both women. And so I started talking to them in March, and now I talk to them both every other week. I am enjoying my relationships with them so much. It's just crazy to me that you could never meet somebody in person, maybe not even ever see them face to face, but you could develop such a close relationship that's such kindred spirits, despite the difference in position or industry or thought processes.
So with that said, what insights, revelations, you reached out to these two fine ladies and you're having this conversation. Now what?
Yeah,
outside of the friendship, like.
It's so interesting. So now we're like planning to get together. Had we done Mobile World Congress or CES, I would have invited them both to come. I would have had them as my guests. I will have them as speakers on different things that I do. I'm in charge of a bunch of different women's groups around the world, and I definitely will be including them into my network, which for me, you know, expanding my network, especially with people that I like and enjoy and want to spend time with at this point in my life, you know, I just think that that's so important. I feel like from a career perspective and for all those things, I don't need any more of that. What I really need is the people that I touch and the people that I can help, whether that it's help bringing them up, helping them through a situation, or just getting to know them and having fun.
See, it's like we've ventured into something that is far more meaningful. And I love that. It's like before we did it this way. Now I'm just interacting with people because there's the soul, and it's feeding the soul, and it's making, and we're all positive, and we try to help each other out. And it's other focus, right? It's other.
Right.
I love that. Beforehand, we just, you know, if somebody said, yeah, I just want to help you. What do you know? Right. It's like your little things go up. Like, why? What do you want? What do you want from me? It doesn't happen. It's truly like, hey, I want to hear what you have to say.
Yeah.
I like that. I like that.
No, I like it too. I think it's a good change, and I think it's a good change for our industry.
Yes.
You know, I really do. I think that in industrial IoT and in data specific usage and in transformation and all of these different things that we use are buzzwords in the industry, they've really become buzzwords, and they've disassociated with what the problems are or the human elements or even the solutions. I feel like COVID actually brought us all back together to look at things in a different way and to really look at them holistically from all the different elements instead of just from a technology perspective.
See, every time I talk to you, I always want to just conquer the world. I'm ready to change the world because Beverly Rider is talking to me. I love that. That's exactly correct. And it's weird. With over, I don't know, a bunch of podcasts, a bunch of interviews, every single problem, challenge, opportunity gets down to people.
It does.
It's just all roads lead to people. And if you can crack that nut, if you can figure out that secret sauce, and I think you have, where you're willing as a leader, you're confident enough to say, Yeah, I need help. Yeah, I'm vulnerable. Yeah, I hear you, and I mean it. I hear you, and I want to hear what you have to say, and I want to help you in a meaningful way. Pre-virus, I don't know if that was really the case.
No, and I don't know that it was the case even with me. I wish I could say it was, but I'm not sure that it was. In fact, I think it probably wasn't. I also think that, now I'm looking at what people's hopes and dreams are. I'm not just looking at, what do you want your objectives to be or what do you want your MBOs to be, but where do you want to go? Who do you want to be? How can I help you get there? How are you using all this time? Like, I'm not saying you have more time, you probably have less, but because of that, I want to give somebody do you want some extra training that I can give you? If you're going to spend all this extra time and you're going to work so hard to try to overcome the problems that COVID has created for us in our business, then what can I give you in return? Is it succession planning? What can I do to help you move forward? And I think I've talked to a lot of leaders that feel the same way, they see their employees working so hard or their peers and they want to give back to them. Yeah. I think that's a great outgrowth of COVID.
There's no argument there. There's no argument there. And it's interesting because some of the revelations that I've experienced, just FYI, is that because of this platform being virtual, I found myself being on all of the other platforms. Yeah. And when I'm on those platforms, I sit there and scroll. And then I realized how much time, energy, and effort has been me personally into that. And the majority of the time, it's wasted. Yeah. I can't ever get that time back. And it breaks my heart. It breaks my heart. So for me, I read, I register for the IoTC Connected Mobility VIP event registration featuring, that's right, Beverly Rider, today. Of course, we'll get the podcast out as soon as possible.
That's just a coincidence, everybody.
But those are meaningful time. That's value for your time, and I just highly encourage, and especially there'll be a recording, so Scott won't get the podcast out today, so you guys won't hear about this till after the mobility. But it really is. You should listen to it. It has some great people. We'll have Intel there. We have Ericsson coming. We have Ford. We have one of the doctors that works for me who has a doctorate in mobility. It's going to be a really, really interesting conversation about mobility and the future of mobility. Very interactive. After this podcast, I got to talk to you about that doctor in mobility. Mm-hmm. I'm voted that down because I want.
Okay, Dr. Dean Bushy. He's a great guy.
I want that conversation most definitely.
Okay, I can make that happen.
So, what are your? 2021. You're a leader. Yeah. I'm sure you've had this conversation strategically, all of that stuff. Mm-hmm. What do you see happening in 2021? Just from you, from your people. What are you hoping? Where are we at?
Yeah, so I actually think that there's going to be a massive shift to a different way of working, a different way of managing, a different way of being an employee and a person. And I think that industry, as well as all of the different verticals within business, are really going to have to take a massive shift if they're going to be successful and they're going to survive. There are some phenomenal companies right now that aren't making it. And I believe that's because they couldn't see outside of their box, or they just thought it was a passing trend. One of the industries that I've been looking at a lot is long haul trucking. It's something that's really interesting to me. There's 50,000 different companies. I don't know if you know this. And about 15 of them have somewhere between 1.5 and $2.5 billion in revenue. And nobody's ever been able to get over that 2.5 mark. So how do you use technology in order to change that and have somebody break that glass ceiling that they have? That's a really interesting topic to me. Things like that are the riddles that keep me up at night. I know.
You're the first person that says hi. Logistics and keeping me up at night because they can't crack that ceiling of 2.5 billion or whatever it is.
Yeah, why is that? Like that just, and people have tried. They've tried by acquisition, they've tried by organically, they've tried everything. So I just think about questions like that. I think about freight rail and how do you create a kayak for all different types of freight? Does it really have to only be one way of doing business? Can't there be a disruptor that comes inside from the industry out? And that's what I hope. I hope that what we see in 2021 and forward is industries looking at how they disrupt themselves rather than how they get disrupted by somebody else.
I'm writing this down. If you're looking out at the video, I got to write down disruption because that's I will forget about it, but it
needs to be inside out. I'm tired of all these little startups coming in and killing an entire industry and putting half of the companies out of business. I love our old blue chip companies. I want them to succeed, but they have to look at it differently. They can't be so inside out. They're going to have to start looking outside in.
See, I like that, outside in, because I agree with you 100%, especially now. There is no reason why they cannot. I mean, the technology's there. The thinking is there. The examples are all there. It's all like, it's there.
Yeah.
And I think for true long-term health, growth, whatever that looks like into the future, you better be innovative when it comes to that stuff. You better be. I
think so. The other thing that I see, Scott, that's changing a lot is people are telling more of the truth. I don't know if you've ever seen this before, but in big companies, people tend to tell people what they want to hear. And the further up in leadership you go, people tell you more what you want to hear rather than what the truth is. And I think we're getting better and better at telling people what's really going on, what the real problems are, because how can we solve them if we don't know that they're happening? And I've had a couple of different positions where I've had a ton of people working for me, thousands, and then others where I've had 20 or 30. And I feel always so much more connected with the company and the products and the solutions and the customers when I have 20 rather than when I have 2,000. And that's because as you get up in the organization, once I said, people tell you really, they're like, oh, you have a big job, so I'm going to tell you what I think you want to hear so that I can get promoted. No, what I want and what I think my peers want is the truth so that we can actually solve those problems.
See, I agree with you 100%. I mean, I feel like I'm just in this echo chamber right now going, yeah, you're absolutely right. Yeah. I have nothing to add to that. I agree with you. It's like, just tell me the truth. Nothing's going to happen. And I think that there's a fear that something bad is going to happen to them and their future or whatever they're, and that's a whole nother conversation. You want that level of candid conversation that creates a little friction, debate it, because you're only going to progress it's like when I work out, right? When I exercise, I want resistance. If I'm not having resistance, I'm not growing and improving. The same
exactly. If you don't hurt 2 days later, then you didn't work out hard enough. There should be some part of your body that hurts 2 days later. The same thing in these scenarios.
It's exactly correct.
I also think that happens when you have people that are confident of yourself. And I found myself recently really hiring people that are more my age or maybe a little bit younger than me, and some 22. A little bit older, but no, not close. But I did that because I want people that are confident in themselves. I want people that don't feel that they're trying to please anymore. I want people that, quite frankly, are smarter than me. A team of people that are smarter than me just makes me better and elevates my game, right? It forces me to get better. It's like you were saying how you're reading all your books. I'm reading this book about not caring what other people think. It's called Don't Give a F. But I can't say that.
I know that book, yeah. From a branding and marketing perspective, when you see that on there, it's like, I want to know. It's pretty powerful. Yeah.
So I don't swear, but it's too funny that I'm reading a book that totally every other word is that. But it's really interesting because it really talks about how you have to have that inside feeling of security and knowing and confidence in order to really give to the outside world what you want to give. And part of being able to do that is not caring what everybody thinks. Otherwise, you change yourself.
Yeah. Boy, you're just touching on so many topics that are so important. When some people, when we start talking, do you truly want to change the world, Beverly?
Yes, 100%. I can say without anything that my number one goal at this point in my life is to being able to do that. If it means changing 10 people's lives, or if I get to change 1 million, it doesn't matter to me. I just want to be able to institute good change in the world.
Yeah. See, and I like that. And you can tell in your voice that you truly, and you mean it. It's not just an empty thing. I always talk about the power of one. If I can just change one person, and that person, and then you just sort of, it's a multiplier, but it's, or help, not change. It's not like Scott, hey, I'm here to change it. You're going to listen to me. And I'm not there. Exactly. No, hell no. But it's, but in that case, yeah. And just stay away from that negative crap.
I will. I promise. And Scott, I did hear, so if you're able to help 10 people and they help 10 people, 3 generations, you changed 800 million people's lives, and that is the whole world.
That is.
It only takes 3 generations to do that, to touch every person in the entire world.
Yeah, that's cool too. That's a cool stat. Now all of a sudden I've got to think about my business model, and now all of a sudden I got, doggone it.
Well, you've already changed 10 people's lives, so you've done your time. Now you're just on bonus time.
There it is, baby. There it is. Well, thank you, Beverly. I know you got to run, but I'm always inspired listening to you and talking to you, and I know that your future is absolutely as bright as the sun, baby. I love it. And then people, you need to reach out. Now go out to Beverly Rider. She'll have that I'll have all of the contact information that you can possibly imagine about Beverly, right? Mm-hmm. All there out on the Industrial Talk podcast or industrialtalk.com. You need to reach out there. Your life will change, definitely. She is a spark plug and very positive. Beverly, thank you very much.
Thanks, Scott.
All right, listeners, we're going to wrap it up on the other side. Do not hesitate and do not go away. We will be right back.
You're listening to the Industrial Talk Podcast Network.
All right, you can't talk to me and tell me that after that conversation, you're not ready to conquer the world. Industry hero right there, Beverly Rider. All her contact information will be out at industrialtalk.com. Make that a priority. Connect with her. Get out to that LinkedIn stat card and reach out and just get a dose of hope and optimism, because you're an industry professional. You are just bold, brave, and you dare greatly. And I telling you right now, you are heroes on this particular podcast, heroes in my life. It is a great honor to be able to have friends like Beverly, friends like you, to be able to have great conversations about solutions, hope, courage, everything that industry represents right here on the Industrial Talk podcast. Now, tell your doggone story. Come on, tell your story. Reach out to me. You can go to industrialtalk.com. Say, Scott, I got a story to tell about industry. Fantastic. I will, boom, communicate with you. We'll get it all scheduled. We'll get it on out there, because your story has to be told. You have to be able to generate that hope and optimism for all industry professionals out there. In 2021, let's do it. Let's be ambassadors. Let's be ambassadors of hopes and dreams. Let's educate. Let's collaborate. Let's continue to innovate with a sense of speed and purpose. I depend on you. I depend on you. All right. Be bold, be brave. Again, dare greatly, but I'm going to challenge you again. Hang out with people who are bold, who are brave, who dare greatly. And I'm telling you, you're going to change the world. Your life is going to be on frickin' fire. Again, thank you very much for joining the Industrial Talk podcast. We're going to be back with another great interview just shortly. Thank you.